Bam. Hello. How are you? It's Friday afternoon in St. Louis, Missouri, 1:40 p.m. You see the news? People freaking out about anything. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it today. We're not going to talk about it ever. Certain topics just shouldn't be discussed amongst polite company, and everyone that watches my live stream is my polite company, even if they despise me. So we just won't talk about it. I want to get away from all the craziness that's in the world. I don't want to deal with it. So we're not going to deal with it. We're not going to talk about it. I'll let you figure out what it is that I'm not going to talk about, because that's how much I don't want to talk about it. Maybe you wonder who you are. Who did you just, like, you're probably on your TV or your iPad or your phone, and you're like, how did I just get this guy? Who is this guy? What in the world is he not talking about? Well, I guess we should solve that early. My name is John Shink, and I am the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We help mostly residential folks, help buyers buy homes, help sellers sell theirs. Been doing the business for a while. And I have a live stream. I'm losing my only agent in, I think, September. So that's not good. And every day, pretty much do a live stream. Haven't been doing them when I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to be doing it at 9. I've been adjusting the format lately for more views. And so if you want to see how that's going, just look at the view count on any of my previous videos. Hasn't gone well. My testing hasn't gone well. But maybe today is the day we break through. I'm very confused by some things. Like, I'm not going to get into it right now. This is my introduction, so I don't want to do that. But anyway, if you like real estate topics, if you like to just go through like the BS, if you like to go through like what I do on a daily basis other than stream, we talk about that kind of stuff every day. The big fight right now is the market going to crash? Well, I don't know if the market's going to crash or not. I have no idea. I hear people say all the time that the market is fine, there's plenty of demand, and everything's going to be great. And then I hear other people that are like, hold on to everything you have and hold dear, because it's all going to be wiped away. I suspect it's somewhere between those two goalposts, but I don't know where. My advice to anybody that wants to buy a house right now is go buy a house. Don't buy the house thinking you're going to sell it tomorrow for twice what you paid for it. That would be unrealistic. And if you buy a house, just know that it might go down in value. But all houses go down in value. All houses go up in value. It's just kind of the way it is. I think what happened is at some point in time, people confused buying a house for the stock market. So like if you're buying a house, it's like buying a stock. And it's not. It's not. It's where you live. It's only designed for like where you live. The financial benefits and all that stuff are secondary to just having a place to live. And then someday, believe it or not, there's people that have their mortgages paid off and they don't owe anybody any money other than the taxes on their property. I know it's crazy. I would never have believed it either, but that's the way it is. So, you could be subscriber number 14. You could be subscriber number 15. You could get in on this on the ground floor. So you say, well, why are you hitting me so hard for subscriptions now? Because sometimes I forget. Some days I totally forget to ask. And some days I don't get around to it. Don't want to. So today would be that day. You could just press the subscribe button. I'd appreciate it, because I need subscribers. I need some sort of justification for why I'm doing this. Some sort of, I don't know, reason to continue, to fight on. I've been doing this since probably June of last year, June or July. Not getting very far. And maybe it's because I'm botching the introduction. I don't know. But there are 3 things I wanted to talk about. So like normally talk about Google Trends first, not going there today. That's a cesspool of disaster. Wanted to go over some other things though. First off, I'm going to tell you now this, like I can almost feel the clicks on my live stream going away right now, but I'm not deterred. We'll talk about it. So this weekend, on Saturday. No, it was Sunday. I'm sorry. Sunday morning, wife asked me to go with her to what we would call the mall. It's the outlet mall. It's big here in St. Louis, Chesterfield. Drive out there right before the river to St. Charles. So I'm just trying to help you out if you're in Great Britain, if you're in India watching this, and you can look at a map and you can see what I'm talking about. But anyway, went to the mall. On the way, before we got to the mall, I had to get dressed. And so I put my pants on. Sorry, my eye's itching. I put my shirt on, but as I put my shirt on, my arm came down onto the corner of my dresser. My wife happened to be there, and when I did it, it hurt terribly. Started bleeding, and I feel like I'm tough enough. I don't cry or anything like that, but man, it hurt. It hurt. It took the air out of me. It wasn't like when you hit your funny bone. It hurt much worse. It was bad. And so that bothered me. So I'm going to show you on the screen. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see all this yellow here? Like right around here? That's where I hit it. Okay. But the everything else like around here. So I didn't see that, what I'm showing you, until yesterday. So from Sunday to yesterday, like every day I would, like right now I have my arm on a chair that has armrests. My left elbow hurts just sitting on the armrest. It's bruised. At night when I watch TV in the recliner, I can't put my arm on the recliner, but I had not realized that there was some sort of visual, where you could see what I did with my elbow. And that hurts. I'm just saying. An elbow story to start the real estate live stream, probably not the best way to go, but you know what? It's like a bully pulpit. I have the floor, and no one ever comes to comment or chat with me. So it's like, anyway. So the elbow, I mean, you saw it. It's yellow and green, and it hurts. I don't know when that's going to go away. Am I playing hurt? No, I mean, I've been doing streams all week. I just wanted to share with you that, if you've ever done that, put it in the comments section below, put it in the chat if you come along with me. But man, that really hurt. Moving on. I wanted to go over a topic that get settled in here. I've been watching famous broadcasters and how they kind of contour their body to every word they say. I'm not there yet, but anyway, I wanted to talk about humility as a real estate agent. You say, well, John, what's that about? Well, I feel like you cannot go through this business all the time without some level of humility. And if you try, it will get beaten into you. It's a vicious and brutal game that I don't wish on anyone. Why does humility come up? Well, I've always been fascinated by those people that are online, or those people that you see in TikTok videos, or those people that you see, I guess, on the websites, although I don't know how many people go to websites anymore, but all these people that like are so certain about everything that's going to happen in the real estate world. Like everybody always knows what the best thing to do is about your house, about your particular situation. And it's funny to me. Every agent knows exactly what the price is it's going to be, that you're going to be able to sell your house for. Everybody knows what the price is that you're going to be able to buy a house for. And I'm telling you, as I work in the business for years now, more than a decade, I don't think you can go along and not be humbled. Or you're just, now it's fascinating to me. Now, do you do it because you are trying to project some sort of confidence so that your clients believe your bullshit? Or is it something where, you have like a personality defect that makes you think that you have to know it all, or make you believe you know it all? Because I'm not that way, and I've never been that way, but especially now as I work in the real estate world, right now someone could be watching this video and say, I hate that guy. I never want to do business with him ever. Like, they will just call someone down the street. They just want nothing to do with you. So it's always a calculated risk to put yourself out there. But to put yourself out there as some sort of expert in everything. Now, I'm not an expert in anything. I don't believe that. Even, I just go about my day. I take in the information that I see, and then I make decisions on whether or not I think that they're valid or not. And so I'm not saying I'm not saying I want to teach you how to think. I'm showing you how I think. And so in the real estate world, there are many times when you are humbled. A lot of times, if you're not confident, I feel like, with yourself and with your clients, it can lead to a bunch of disasters. And let me go over one of the scenarios that just happened to me recently. Well, recently we had a house that went under, went active status. Showings were set for Saturday morning. Most properties today are, showings start on Friday, offers due Sunday night or Monday, and then offer accepted down the road. Well, people are jumping the gun now, and now it's somebody puts in an offer, they accept the offer without even, without anything. Well, in this particular case, that's exactly what happened. I showed the house. My buyers had made a decision like 7:00 at night. I didn't want to write an offer at 7 at night on Saturday night. I've been busy working all day, and I had till tomorrow. And so when I went to go see it the next day to start writing it up, the house was already pending. Now, I had talked to the agent. I said, look, if you're going to accept an offer, let me know, and I'll write one real quick so that you have some, you have something to work with. Didn't get a call. They didn't seem to care. Not good on professional courtesy, but whatever. What I was saying in that conversation was, I'm going to write an offer. Not, I'm thinking about writing an offer. It's like, I'm going to write an offer. I just prefer to do it when I'm fresh in the morning. To be fair, something happened. Something happened with that house, because there's no way. It was pending in the morning. So that means that they were almost ready to take an offer that afternoon, and just no one told me. It is what it is, but it made me look bad in front of the eyes of my clients, my buyers, because they're like, man, we could have had that house. Now, to be honest, they probably wouldn't have gotten the house. This market has been so bad in St. Louis that they probably wouldn't have gotten the house. But at the same time, I'm looking, there's some level of humility there. Like, I was wrong. No one likes to admit they're wrong. I'm a little bit better at it than most. So, that's where the humility comes in. There's also humility on the listing side. Like, what happens when someone calls 4 agents, okay? And you're one of the agents that didn't get the listing. But they don't tell you didn't get the listing. They just end up listing it with the other person, and you just see it online for the first time. How does that make you feel? Well, you're humbled, because at the end of the day, they didn't like you. There was something about you they didn't like. They didn't trust, and they felt someone else would do a better job selling their house than you. So that doesn't make you feel good. I'll be honest. I've had it happen. It's not a good feeling. Humble. So that's one of the reasons why I know it sounds bad, but I tend to not get too up or too down if I do get a listing over somebody else, because we've all been there, and it sucks. And I don't wish it on anybody. I wish it would be as simple as, everybody was a great agent and everybody liked everybody and it all worked out, and it doesn't work that way. So there's a chance to be humble. So no matter what I wear, no matter what I look like, no matter what I say, no matter what car I drive, I can go somewhere. Could be the best agent in St. Louis, and I could still walk out of there without getting a listing. That is a cause for humility. Let's talk about more causes for humility while you're an agent. Let's say you're representing a buyer and you see something wrong with the property during an inspection. So you tell the buyer, I think we have to ask them to fix it, or we're going to have to leave the house. And so we put on the inspection sheet, you need to fix this. And the seller comes back and says, piss off. We're not fixing it. Well, now you get to do the thing you don't want to do and back out of the contract. Now I can't buy the house because of that. Now, on the other side, if you're the seller's agent, let's say you've got another offer that comes in after the fact and it's higher than the one you should have accepted. Do you go ahead and during the inspection, when somebody says, hey, we want you to fix X, Y, and Z, you tell them no, and then hope that they get out of that, hope that they leave the deal so you can work with somebody else? That's not a good idea. In my opinion, it's not a good idea. It's a lot of trouble. It's predicated on the idea that somebody else is going to write an offer again after they've been shunned. Not many people like to do that. But in this case, the humility comes from accepting that you can't, there's no gamesmanship here. There's something seriously wrong with the house, and the sellers decided that they're not going to make any repairs or concessions. That's okay, but you get this humility. It's very it's very humbling when you look at your bank account at the end of the month and you haven't sold anything, you haven't represented any buyers, and so your bank account hasn't moved in a month. And if it does move, it moves down. So there's a lot of humility that is required, in my opinion, to be a real estate agent. Now, maybe you don't have any of these problems as a real estate agent. Maybe you only list luxury homes, and maybe you only have to sell like 2 a year. That's a pretty good life. Good for you. I'm happy for you. It's not the one that I'm in. No, the one that I'm in. So anyway, I was curious about your thoughts. Now, you can put them in the chat, or you can put them in the comment section. What do you think? What do you think about humility with agents? Would you want an agent that's humble, that's gonna tell you things like as straight as they possibly can, or do you want someone that's absolutely void of any sort of humility? I'm just curious. I know that most of the people that I work with call me again afterwards. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes their kids get involved in real estate, or sometimes, a friend gets involved in real estate, and I get kind of pushed to the side. But I have a pretty good retention rate with my clients. My getting clients has been tough. It's always been tough. So, and that's partially because I don't feel comfortable working with everybody. I never have. And there's a lot of running around that you could be doing in real estate if you're not careful. And I don't want to run around like that. Like that's where I'm at on that. Let me ask another question. Oh, let me tell you something that I've noticed just today that I'm a little curious about now. I don't know what you know about the real estate market. I don't know what you've read. I don't know if you're a real estate agent. I don't know anything. And I don't really know what to make of this, but we had a ton of listings come available overnight, way more than what we normally have, or what we've normally been having in the past couple of months. Way more. I don't know what's going on. Well, I think I know what's going on. I think people are like, oh my God, the market's turning and we're going to get stuck with this house at a stupid price. Let's get it on the market. So that's what I think's happening, but I can't prove it. Anecdotal evidence. I mean, I can tell you that there's way more listings that came active today than there have been in the last while, but you just have to take my word for it. And that's in St. Louis. I can't, like, if you're in San Diego, if you're Los Angeles, I don't know what's going on in the markets there. I have no idea. I mean, I see it from a national perspective, but I can't tell you that today there's more listings currently in California than there were the day before, like by a lot. Anecdotal, but I feel like St. Louis lags the trends. I feel like when there is a trend, we typically stay in a little bit longer than when there's a good trend. And then before a trend starts, we're still a little bit lower in the trend. This is just something that I've kind of observed over my time. I don't think we're really market leaders in anything, just as far as in real estate, in anything in real estate. Like if there's a boom market, it's not happening in St. Louis first. If there's a bust market, it's not happening in St. Louis first. It's normally somewhere else. So there's your bit of advice today is, hey, like there's something going on with the listings. Maybe pay attention. I wanted you to see one thing. I'm going to have to do it weird. No, I did it right. I'm sorry. Here we go. Let's go here. Let's go here. And let's go here. This is the Deerwood Realty website. This is my company. And I don't know if you've noticed, but did you notice the interest rate's been going down the last couple of days? I say that it went up. It went up 10 basis points from yesterday. But what is that about? Let's look at the analysis. It says no, mortgage rates are actually much lower this week. Much of today's, I'm sorry, this is 623. This is from yesterday. It says much of today's mortgage rate headlines suggest that rates are higher this week. Nothing could be further from the truth. Well, a few things could be, but the point is that rates are definitely quite a bit lower than they were last week. They're also lower than they were yesterday or the day before. In some cases, the size of the drop in rates is puzzlingly large. I addressed the reasons for this in yesterday's commentary, which is very long, but worth a read if you're curious. I'm not that curious. As for today's higher rate headlines, those are products of the long-standing tradition among media outlets relying on Freddie Mac's weekly rate survey for one big mortgage rate article each month or each week. And that's true. So if you look at my website, the 30-year fixed, okay, on Freddie Mac is much, much higher. But it's a weekly update. It's not daily. It says there's no glaring issue with Freddie's survey data if you're interested in tracking broad trends over a long period of time, but the survey methodology can result in stale or even misleading week-over-week rate changes. Long story short, most of the responses come in right at the beginning of every given week, but the survey isn't published till Thursday. That means we're usually getting a glimpse of Monday versus Monday rates with a 3-day lag. So, there we are. The rates are down. I'd like to be 5.5. I think I could still work within that frame. So we're a little high. I'm not going to complain given how bad things were like a week ago, or even earlier in the week, like Monday. Just not good. So I'm ready. It's 23 minutes in. I'm ready. We're going to start going through the articles that I pulled today. I don't know how far we'll get, but I just wanted to go over stuff that I thought was interesting, and I hope you do too. First off, this was in the New York Times. I thought it was, or New York Times, New York Post. I apologize. I don't want to sully the reputation of the New York Post with that of the disgusting rag New York Times. Miserable Karen, it says, ruins neighbor's wedding with a lawnmower. Just rude. What is this about? It says, these newlyweds are not a happy couple. The miserable neighbor, dubbed a Karen, seemed to purposely ruin a wedding across the street, droning out the bride with a lawnmower as she walked down the aisle. In fact, the whirring during the lawn mowing session was so noisy that it even disturbed the couple's vows, so the audience couldn't hear them. And then it says the clip, which garnered more than 293,000 views on TikTok, has sparked outrage in the comments. The second the bride's song came on and she walked down the aisle, this Karen decided to purposely mow her lawn and yell at us to ruin the wedding, read the text in the video. Caption, some people are so miserable. Snippets of the ceremony, which included sharing of vows and the bride gracing the aisle, appeared in the clip, as well as a sneak peek at the Karen who disrupted the special day. She continued through the entire wedding, and we could not hear the vows. Some people are just rude like that. It's truly unfortunate. They continue in the comment section, adding that they'd gone to the woman and she hadn't been kind. Naturally, people took to the comment section to share their unfiltered opinion, saying they felt rage toward the unnamed woman for ruining the celebration, while others offered revenge ideas. Now I'd be committed to randomly ringing her doorbell at 3 a.m. at least once a week for eternity, one person joked. It's not always certain to me if people are joking online. It's one of the things you have to be careful. I have a difficult time reading stuff online a lot of times, like, what are we really saying here? And that's true with like political hyperbole. If you check any politician and what they say, it's like, I can't believe you said that. That's so far out of the bounds of what a normal person would say. It says, hope you had a huge celebration and blasted the tunes to the wee hours. While one person asked if there was a beef between the neighbors, the user who posted the clip confirmed there was no reason Karen was being rude. There was no reason. It says, meanwhile, a few people sided with the neighbor, saying it's her property and she can do what she wants. This is something you have to accept when you don't pay for a venue, though. Another user chimed in. It's her property. She didn't agree to a wedding. Now, I don't know what to make. I don't have the particulars. But I do know that, neighbors have problems at times. And so I wanted to go over that with you. I'll just tell you from my own experience, like I live in the suburbs. Okay. Here's my own experience. One, if it's the weekend, okay, and you're cutting the grass at like 8 a.m., 7 a.m. with a loud lawnmower, with a gas lawnmower, your neighbors are probably going to hate you. And I know that sounds harsh. I like to cut my grass. I have a gas mower, but I mean, I just know that a lot of my neighbors sleep in on the weekends. They don't want to be bothered by that stuff. So that's one thing I've done. I've also learned that people don't like when you cut the grass late at night. I know a neighbor in the neighborhood, a good friend who hates his neighbors because they try to cut the grass at like 10 o'clock at night and it's dark. And he just thinks that's dumb. And you know what? Maybe it is. Maybe using a walk behind mower at 10 o'clock at night in pitch black conditions seems like a dumb idea. I mean, maybe they've got something there. But I mean, I can tell you a story right now. This happened to me maybe 3 weeks ago. I was cutting my grass. Like I love to cut my grass on the weekends. I have no issues with it. I was trimming. I was using the weed whacker, and my neighbor had a very, very nice scooter outside. And I wasn't thinking. And, the weed whacker, if my neighbor had not moved his scooter inside, may have gotten chips from the weed whacker. I mean, was I being discourteous? Was I being rude? I mean, I was cutting the grass. I was cutting my grass. It was the best time of the week that I had to cut the grass. So it was, and I'm friends with my neighbor. Like, we're good friends. So if it irritated my friend and irritated me and we're friends, I can't imagine what type of situation would how you would think if this, I don't like to use the word Karen. I think it's really disrespectful. But how this Karen would have reacted. Is it a free country, allowed to cut your grass at any time? Yeah. Can you try to be courteous when you do it? Absolutely. Now, I think that there's an added element to this that I wanted to discuss, and that is, if you've never dealt with someone that's having a wedding, like personally, I mean, you're missing out on the absolute craziness that occurs during a wedding. I mean, the people are all happy to be there. Sometimes it's invitation only, and I mean, some people didn't get even invited. And so there's anger and animosity there. And then you've got like, you're only going to get married once in theory, especially younger people. Like they're in their 20s, they're getting married. They're like, this is going to be forever. So like they really want to make the day. And now we've gotten into a world where it's like everything needs to be on Instagram. Everything needs to be out there. So it's not enough just to have a good wedding. You have to show the world you had a good wedding. And then there's budgetary constraints. It's very similar to buying a house. Sometimes you can't buy the house you want. You have to buy the house you can afford. And certainly sometimes you may want a ceremony that's a certain way, but maybe you can only afford so much. And so I don't think that the lady that was cutting her grass cares one bit about the fact that you're having a wedding. I don't think that she's like, I honestly don't think that she sat there and waited in her house until you had the wedding and then went out there and immediately cut the grass. Okay. But I also don't think that, what if that lady has to not cut her grass every weekend because there's always a wedding at the place? It's like, apparently it's a public place based on what I read. I don't know. Maybe I'm misinformed. But if someone came to me in my yard and said, "Hey, could you keep it down? I'm trying to get married." I don't know. I don't think I would continue to cut the grass. I think I would be like, all right, I'll go do something else for an hour. Just during this ceremony. I mean, I don't think it's wrong. I mean, even if I have no time, even if the grass has to wait until tomorrow, I feel like, all right. Now, like, it's a very interesting. Sometimes my neighbors will have like people over, and they'll sit outside and talk. Now, I'm cutting the grass. Am I supposed to stop cutting the grass because my neighbor started talking to somebody that just rode up or walked up? They're to me, you should be able to cut the grass when you want. And you should be courteous if somebody, asks you to be courteous. But I mean, I don't know the standard. Like, what is the level? What is the level? Like, so a wedding, we think, all of us, I think, okay, well, that's a reason not to cut the grass. But I mean, somebody just walking over, is that a reason not to cut the grass or to stop? Now, it's insinuated that this couple didn't pay to use the venue. Like it's maybe a park or something like that. And then that this lady owns something. Does that change your mind? Not really. It doesn't change mine. It doesn't change. I did get a venue when I got married and it was expensive. And if there would have been grass cutting, it would have been odd because it was a private place. And in theory, it was, I think it was kind of nasty out. Oh, or the next day it poured or something. I don't know. But I get that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with everyone, men, women, children, everyone wanting a picturesque, perfect moment for their wedding. And then there's nothing wrong with them being sad that didn't happen. I'll tell you a story I haven't told, at least the internet, before. When I got married, we had these songs that we had set up to play by the DJ. DJ had a heart attack the day of my wedding. DJ didn't show up. The only reason why we were able to even continue with our celebration was because the wedding planner called a different DJ to come out and rock the house. So we could continue. And I'll be forever thankful for that because, I mean, we really tried to have a good wedding. I really wanted my wife to have a good wedding. I thought it was very important for some reason. I wasn't involved in the planning, okay, so much. I really wasn't. My wife wanted to include me at all times, and I was like, it's really not a big deal for me. I just, and of course I was harangued because I didn't want to, I mean, I'll participate, but I didn't, it's not something like I didn't sit there all my life saying, I can't wait to wear X on my wedding as I walk down the aisle. Like it just wasn't an issue in my life. So anyway, I get it. I understand both sides. I think that the wedding defers because you only get married once, hopefully. Or, I mean, that's hopefully. I think, does everyone get married the first time, assuming like that's the way to go, just once, or are we on? I don't know, but myself, I don't want to get married a bunch of times. I mean, I don't like, sometimes you don't choose it. Sometimes something happens, but I'm just saying the couple in the TikTok video looked younger. TikTok skews younger. And so I'm assuming that everyone there is under the assumption that, you know, this is the most important day of their lives. Just like buying a house. I mean, do you think there's not emotions when buying a house? This same sort of stuff happens just in a weird way. Like, so one of the things that can happen is like you can delay a closing. Like, let's say the mortgage company doesn't get a certain document that they need. And so they say, well, we're not closing. Now you got to tell the buyer, hey, we're not closing. They don't like that. They get really upset. Or you're the listing agent, and you know, I have another story. One time, I worked with this family that was selling the parents' house, and a couple of the family members were in agreement, and then one wasn't. And the one that wasn't was a nightmare of a human being. I mean, it was really impressive. And they did not get along, and we were able to sell the house. But when we were able to finally close on the deal, I was walking. I was like, you know, congratulations. And then everybody just started crying around me. So this was me not reading the room. Because honestly, selling your house is usually a happy experience if you sell it for more than asking or more than you got into it. I mean, you get a little check at the end of the day. It can be sad. It can be sad. Sometimes it's a relief. I know a lady that was like, I just got to get this house sold. It's terrible. It's dragging me down. And so we did. She was happy. But in this particular case, the sellers had been through a lot, and they needed to get out. So that's my story about that. Let's continue. I wanted to share this article with you because I've been watching this guy. Now, his name is Logan Mashtami. Matashami. Like, I apologize. It's not, please. I mean, no disrespect. I have difficulty with understanding everyone's last names. Let's see. Look at that. Can we go? I don't know if you guys can see it. Look, you don't see it because I didn't press the button. So here, let me put us back in. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to go here. Okay. And so the name is right. I got to go back over here. Name is right in here. So it says, the savagely unhealthy housing market is now a nightmare. Existing home sales fall and prices are up 14.8%. So I want you to know that I've been saying that the housing market is a disaster for many months because I'm in it daily. And it's a disaster because when my buyers ask to buy a house, when they say, let's write an offer, usually what happens is we write an offer and we get rejected. And this happens time and time again. We can be over asking by $50,000 on a house and still not get it. So let's see. This is my version of a nightmare because I don't get paid. I'm literally driving around every weekend for nothing. At the end of the day, I work all weekend and get nothing. And I work nights and everything too. I don't want you to think that I'm not working for my wage, but I don't get a wage. I'm on commission 100%. So it says but anyway, this fellow was saying in the past that it wasn't so bad, that things were going to work out. But let's go. This is from the 21st of June. It's a long article, and I don't know if I'm going to get through it all. We'll just do our best. It says the housing nightmare continues. The National Association of Realtors reported that existing home sales for April came in at 5.41 million, down 3.4% from the previous month and 8.6% from last year. But the savagely unhealthy data line was that home prices were up 14.8%. And that's what I've been saying, is when we look at the numbers monthly, it's like, oh, there's great. The housing, the total sales are down. which would normally mean prices are down, but they're not. They're in fact going up. This is an inventory problem. That's what I keep telling people. It's like, for at least for me in St. Louis, there's not any inventory. Even the buyers that I have, when we go look at a house, it's like, this house isn't very good. And then there's not any others to look at. Not even to look at. I mean, the inventory is sad. It says, now that we are almost July, we can safely say that the premise that once mortgage rates hit 4%, the mass panic selling of America and homeowners who need to get out at all costs, driving total inventory up in the millions, hasn't happened. In truth, that was also always a terrible premise. And that's just right. That's just right. I don't understand why people said that at measly 4% that you're going to cause a change in the behavior of sellers. I mean, we've been in the sixes the last last 2 weeks at least. We might go even higher. I'm still getting beat out on offers. Now, what did I tell you when we started the program? I said, look, for some reason, all of a sudden we saw all kinds of listings overnight that we haven't seen before. Like, what's going on? Perhaps that does mean today is that day that things are going to change. It says, my nightmare scenario, on the other hand, has happened, and that is bad news for everyone. Total housing inventory has collapsed to all-time lows since 2020. And because this happened during the years 2020 to 2024, which is weird because it's 2022 right now, it created forced bidding. So this has to be a mistake. It created forced bidding and drove prices well above my 23% 5-year home price growth model in just 2 years. So maybe he's got a home price growth model of 23% over 4 years. And I'm sorry, over 5 years. And so that blew through it. That's true. This is unprecedented. It says, now that mortgage rates have risen, demand is getting hit while we are still showing a 14.8% price growth data. Yikes. That's exactly true. This is a disaster of a market. No one is happy. Well, maybe if you have a lot of listings, you're just thrilled. But like, I don't have a lot of listings and I'm not thrilled. Let's continue. The NAR research, that's the National Association of Realtors, it says the median existing home price for all housing types in May was $407,600, up for 14.8% from May of 2021 of $355,000. As prices increased in all regions, that marks 123 consecutive months of year-over-year increases, the longest running streak on record. It had been tough before the coronavirus came. I'm being honest with you. I worked with buyers and we got houses, but I mean, it's been terrible. You can see the graph. Since the summer of 2020, I've truly believed that once the 10-year yield broke over 1.94%, which means a 4% plus mortgage rates, the housing narrative would change. Home prices have escalated out of control since then, creating a more rate move impact damage than it would have traditionally. See, I have problems with, okay, now this is not a criticism of this fellow, but there's all these people that were going around when house prices were spiking the last 2 years. I mean, really, really spiking, like uncompetitive bidding, uncompetitive, meaning if I had somebody that could afford a $300,000 house and we actually looked at one, it would go for $350,000, $360,000. I mean, that is not the house we looked at. It was not a $360,000 house. And so I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy. And people are saying, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. It's like, I don't think this is okay. And so I have problems with experts telling me like, it's okay. And I'm out there in the field doing my work and it's not okay. So whenever rates rise, we see it impact demand. And mortgage rates are at 6% and no longer at 3%. This is a real demand destruction. Prices and rates are a double whammy, and why I have stressed we need to get inventory higher as soon as possible. The only way this happens is higher rates. Yeah, this whole issue as well is related to something that people didn't see coming, which is strange to me because it seemed obvious to me in the industry. People somehow discounted, people made this a one topic issue, home home sales. Okay. So they one issue, home sales. And they said, well, in this field, if rates go up, that will change the dynamic of home sales, perhaps create a more moderate thing or something like that. No one took other economic issues into consideration when they would make these odd proclamations. The biggest issue right now is inflation. It's inflation. People are locked into their homes. They cannot go anywhere else because what they could once afford has been taken away from them by inflation over the past year. Anybody that says Putin's price hike is a moron. The idea, it's just stupid. Look at the inflation numbers. Look at the Fed response to inflation over the past year or longer and understand it had nothing to do with Putin's price hike. In fact, you could have had worse inflation if some certain things hadn't happened. So as far as fiscal policy, people didn't seem to understand that inflation was occurring when they were making these proclamations of, it's going to be fine as long as the rates go up. Like, the Fed has this. The Fed doesn't have this. They're in a very tough spot. Okay. They're in a very tough spot. It's going to be very weird to see what happens in the end. I'm not saying that house prices will go to zero. Okay. House prices never go to zero. Okay. But what is happening now is rather than this one issue of lowering or raising mortgages, therefore increasing supply. Is that right? No. Yeah. Raising rates, increasing supply by ruining demand because of raising the rates. That's not going to happen because of inflation. So I am not in agreement with this statement. The only way this happens is higher rates. No, you didn't take into consideration runaway inflation. And look, for everyone out there, just so you know, just so you understand, like very simple economic concept, okay? If you believe, like, look, I get it. You may think differently than I do, but if you think about price theory, okay, like we have a functioning market when we don't have shortages, okay? If we have shortages, you either have to raise the price or lower demand, okay? When we started not getting microchips, okay, baby formula, okay, this is cars. This is a market failure. This means there's a pricing problem, okay? Because if you could produce it, you would have it on the market. So there are issues here that were very, very deep that no one wants to discuss because we can't use the word market failure without people freaking out, I guess. But you should have known that something was disconnected when you had shortages. Like, you should never have shortages in a fully functioning economy. This is just me. I mean, I went to school for a few years. So why these people decided to take one issue and think that was going to solve it is beyond me. But let's continue. It says, since March of this year, housing demand has been falling more and more, but inventory is still below the 2010, 2013, 2016, and 2019 levels, which is a nightmare because housing is shelter. People don't sell their homes to be homeless. It's where they live. Where you're trying to sell your home, naturally, you're a home buyer too. That's right. Because here's the thing. The inflation also hit rents. There's this idea in economics of substitution. If beef gets expensive, you buy more chicken, okay? If home prices get too expensive, you rent. If rent prices get too expensive, you buy. These have moved in tandem this time. House prices are ridiculous. Rents are ridiculous. It's because of inflation. It's because of inflation. And so that's why in January, when I was screaming about inflation and no one was listening to me because I don't have that big of an audience, and it's kind of a depressing subject. You know, I was like, raise rates, because that's the only way you can tamp down inflation. But if you do it too much, you create a recession, or we get stagflation, which is where I think we're headed for the first time in my lifetime. And that's not going to be pretty if that's where it goes. But let's assume it doesn't. Let's continue to go through this article. It says rates have risen at the fastest pace ever, which make houses more expensive. So in theory, some home buyers can't move. Home sellers with high equity aren't as sensitive to higher rates because they bring a more significant down payment. Inventory skyrocketing back towards historical norms of 2 million and 2.5 million, which I would find to be the best thing ever for housing, is not happening this year. I mean, there's your total days of inventory. I mean, that's where we are. It's not great. It says getting to that historical inventory level will take more time. I have stressed that housing doesn't need to move like this, or that housing doesn't move like the stock market. Homeowners are in a better financial position than stock traders, which is why the idea of mass panic selling doesn't reflect housing reality. Well, that doesn't explain then 2007. There was mass selling. You say, well, that's not true. It was all foreclosures. No, I lived it. There was a lot of selling. There were a lot of people buying those foreclosures as well. So it was a very bad deal. I hope someday we can look back on the crisis in 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009, and really, really talk about what actually happened. Because I think that this is related in some ways. It says, you don't get a margin call at noon or forced to sell your house in seconds. A real estate investor, on the other hand, doesn't have that type of shelter relationship with home that a homeowner does. The goal is simple. We need more housing inventory. We need total housing inventory to reach a range of 1.52 to 1.93 million to return to normal. Now, the average is in the 2 to 2.5 million. So now we're discounting that. So currently we're at 1.16 million. Weakness in demand, time, and the massive hit to affordability will get us there, but not at the speed people promoted last October. Remember, inventory is very seasonal. In the next few months, the seasonal inventory will fade. But before that happens, we should still break over the previous year's high. We should all be rooting for more inventory to end this madness. I agree with that, but it's not happening. And it's not happening because inflation. People that are sitting in their houses right now can't go buy another house because the house that they would buy is not a trade up, because they've lost thousands of dollars, even though they don't really realize it in their house. You know, if their house was worth $200 2 years ago and now it's worth $250, when they go out and try and buy a house, the $250,000 house that would be in theory better than the home that they're in is not better. It's worse. They'd have to be in the $350 to $400 range. They don't like that. They're not stupid. Regarding the monthly supply for housing, we want to get this above 4 months as soon as possible. This would be a more traditional level for the housing market. We are making some progress here, but not where we want to be yet. Well, we're at 2 months. But that's not even true. Looking like the laggards, in my opinion, houses that are on the market 30 days or longer. I mean, there's like nothing. There's nothing. A nice jump in monthly supply. We see the seasonal push in inventory tied to sales falling, which means the months of supply should increase. This is the best part of today's existing home report. NAR research, total housing inventory registered at the end of May was 1.16 units, an increase of 12.6% from April and a 4.1% decline in May of 2021. Unsold inventory sits at a 2.6 month supply at the current sale price, up from 2.2 months in April and 2.5 months in May. I'm not seeing that. I definitely don't see 2.5 months of supply. Not in my market. It says additional bad news from the report is the data for days on market. The frustrating data line during the savagely unhealthy housing market has been days on the market stubbornly staying at the teenager level. We want this to go much higher to get back to anything normal. That's right. I mean, this is my reality is, I mean, if the house is on the market for more than 7 days, I'm a little bit confused. Like, what happened? It says, we recently paid a severe price on the home price growth nationally, and as long as this data is still at a teenager level, we will not gain the balance in the housing market we need. We need home prices to fall by 17% to return to the peak growth model for the years 2020 to 2024, just to have a regular market, and they're not dropping like that. It says, and this is from our research, it says first-time buyers were responsible for 27% of sales in May. Individuals, investors purchased 16% of homes. All cash sales accounted for 25% of transactions. Distressed sales represented less than 1% of sales. Properties typically remained on the market for 16 days. Well, first-time home buyers is only almost 30% of the market. I think that's kind of low. And then as far as individual investors, I think that the real story here is how many homes investors bought from Wall Street. Just understand it's totally Wall Street. I don't think mom and pop investors are the problem. They're sitting there, they go in and they buy like 3 houses in the neighborhood, which changes the price, and then they dump the houses. It's ridiculous, and it's allowed to continue because it's very hard to track. Regarding sales trends, this data line still lags the reality of the rising rate environment, so we have a lot more room to go lower in sales. When mortgage rates were between 4 and 5%, it looked like a more traditional downturn in sales with higher rates adjusting to the massive price gain since 2020. However, at 6% mortgage rates, we are seeing some real demand destruction. As the most significant home buyer in America, mortgage buyers get hit with a double whammy. Look, this is 100% true. I have this problem. Let me go over here. I have this problem. I'm going to try and explain it to you. I have buyers that can be pre-approved to a certain number. Let's just use $300,000. Okay. So up to $300,000, if they get a house, they can get a mortgage. Okay. So they look for houses at the $300,000 level because for as long as I've been in the business, since 2009, you could buy a house with a mortgage and most of the time it would appraise. Most of the time it would appraise. I mean, and if it didn't appraise, it wouldn't be off by much. So now all of a sudden your $300,000 house, you've got a mortgage for, but you need to be at 360, 370 to be able to actually buy the house. It's still going to appraise low. So you're not even going to be able to use a mortgage for all of it. You're going to have to bring in cash. And I'll tell you what, people are loath. Now, this is not a criticism. People are loath to touch their retirement funds just to buy a house. Okay. And most people, either they have a lot of savings in retirement investment accounts or they have nothing. And they're just going by the seat of their pants. Either way, it's not a good situation when you're trying to buy a house and you can't use a mortgage. And when I say you can't use a mortgage, I mean you can't use a mortgage because it's not going to appraise. That's how fast house prices were rising. Let's continue. It says, while the purchase application data 4-week moving average trend hasn't gotten up to levels that I thought it would, I would see changes with mortgage rates this high, which was between 18 and 22% year-over-year declines. We're picking up the pace now, and that 4-week average is down 16.75% year-over-year. Remember that starting in October this year, the comps will be much harder to work with, so year-over-year declines of 25 to 35% are in play then. This savagely unhealthy market continues until we can get inventory levels to cool down pricing and hopefully reverse some of the extensive material home price damage in America post-2020. If you want more of a guide on knowing when we will see a material change in that discussion, I wrote this article recently to go over what you should be tracking. A good rule of thumb to consider is inventory between 1.52 million and 1.93 million and over 4 months of supply. And then we are back to a normal marketplace. Just imagine how much more damage we could have had this year if mortgage rates hadn't risen. I, for one, am in total agreement with Fed Chairman Powell. We need a housing reset because nothing good happens with savagely unhealthy home price growth. This is not a criticism of Logan. This is just where he is. He believes that Powell knows what he's doing. He believes that. I don't know if he's a younger fellow. I don't know if he's an older fellow, but the Fed has no idea what they're doing. They don't deal with the same problems you and I have. When they don't like their numbers, they change it. Look at the CPI. Look at how it's constructed. Look at how it was constructed in the 80s. They don't work by the same methods you do. As an agent, they definitely don't have anything to do with my day-to-day life. I mean, they screw it up constantly because what they're going to, obviously I've explained to you, I'm having difficulty with my buyers buying homes, but I'm also paying so much more to drive my clients around. You drive down to Imperial, which is 20 miles away, and the gas prices are at a stupid level. And you say, look, this is inflation. This is government policy. The people that are in power are not helping me in any way. They're actively thwarting me. And I get these people that say, well, you just need to buy an electric car. Like, we're changing the economy. That's absolutely ridiculous. Like, absolutely ridiculous. I don't think that makes me a political person, but if it does, I'm sorry. So this guy who's an expert believed one thing. It's not true. And so he has said, like, I made a couple errors. He made another one at the end with the Powell thing, but sooner or later he'll figure out that the Fed policy is ridiculous, and it's not. It's a mess. So I respect the tone of the article saying, I screwed up. This is an apology. I don't know. Is nightmare too strong a word? No, it's terrible. It's terrible. And here's, like, I wanted to bring this up. Okay. Look, if you want to make the argument that, that we need more inventory, okay, home builder sentiment is in the dumps. So the people that are supposed to be building the houses, their sentiment is in the dumps. Why? Hard to get labor costs under control, hard to get material costs under control. It's like, how do you build more homes? Everyone wants to do like more dense more dense housing and things like that. People, to me, have shown they don't want to be part of dense housing. You do get like just in my own life. Okay. So when I was in my 20s, downtown St. Louis really came back. A bunch of commercial buildings that we could no longer use for commercial purposes because there was no commercial activity got changed over to lofts. Everyone bought the lofts. It was great. And then they all had kids and moved out, and then the lofts weren't so great. And like, honestly, that's one generation. You can, I've noticed I'm 45, I've noticed that you can usually trick people that are in different generations. So like the people that are living out in the suburbs now, whose parents live downtown, are probably getting ready to again be tricked into moving downtown. That's a real estate cycle. And I say tricked into moving downtown. Understand, if people want to live downtown, I'm happy to show them anything they want. Okay. I'm just saying, from a real estate cycle perspective, what I saw happen with people my age and in my time, what they did seems to be part of a cyclical trend and likely to continue. That's what I'm saying. I please, like, we have a little problem in St. Louis where the city and the county, a little bit of animosity, understandably so, in my opinion. But it's just fascinating. I don't see how you're going to get through this without building more houses. And I feel like in 2007, 2008, the housing market, I mean, all the new home builders kind of ate it, or they consolidated during that time. People would sit in neighborhoods that were not fully built out for years. I mean, it's tough. It's really, really tough. So what would if I could shake my magic wand, what would I do? Well, I would lower government spending. I would lower government spending first. If I had a magic wand, just lower government spending. That's what I would do first. And there'd be a lot of things you'd have to do after that. But if you could just stop this, like, look, when the government gives you $1,000, okay, and says, here you go, times are tough, here's $1,000, you're going to be paying for that over and over and over again. And I feel like that's the inflation. That's the inflation. You've devalued the value of money. But we continue. Let's change gears here. I thought this was an interesting article. Oh, look at this. I could invest like Warren Buffett. All right. Ready for this? Okay. I think this is important. I think this will be the last article for today. I wanted to go over this because I wanted to tell you how it fits in with my life and what I'm talking about. So it says, DOJ settles lawsuit with Facebook over allegedly discriminatory housing advertisement. Okay. And we did this. We read the key points the one time and it really ruined the article. So let's continue. It says, the Department of Justice reached a settlement with Facebook owner Meta over allegations it engaged in discriminatory advertising that violated federal housing law, the agency announced Tuesday. So there's allegations. We didn't litigate. We didn't go to court, so we're never going to be able to say that it actually happened. The investigation stemmed from a 2019 discrimination charge by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. HUD referred the case to the DOJ, the DOJ after the company elected to have the charge heard in federal court. The DOJ, now this was in 2019, Biden was not president then, so we can't play pure politics on this one. The DOJ claimed Meta targeted users with housing ads based on algorithms that relied partly on characteristics protected under the Fair Housing Act, like race, national origin, and sex. It also alleged Meta's lookalike or special ad audience tool allowed advertisers to target users based on protected traits. Okay. Like I think I'm going to stop and I think I'm going to go over this more closely. Okay. So when I used to use Facebook to advertise, okay, how I would use Facebook, this is how I would use Facebook as a real estate broker. I'd go in, and if I had a house, now you can make fun of me. All you agents out there that know better than I do about tech, you can make fun of me. So as a listing package, what I would do is when I listed a property for sale, I would list it in Facebook. I would put that zip code that I listed the house in, and I would use my home zip code where my office was. Those are the two places I would advertise. It would be by zip code, and that's how I did it. I did not get into, when I looked at the data that you could at the time use to find your perfect clients, I was amazed. I didn't see the race portion of it. I didn't see like where you could just, you could just market to African Americans or Asian. I didn't see anything like that, but I did see age. I do remember age. And I thought that was a bit off. It would never be something that I have no interest in advertising an age thing. Although we do have federally protected housing of, I believe, age 55 and older. You can live in an older community and it's totally legal and legit. That's always been weird to me, but whatever. So I never used those traits. And I can understand. If you only knew how vicious the algorithm in Facebook and Google are, as far as these, like, that's where they're coming from. It says the DOJ targeted user with housing ads based on algorithms that relied partly on characteristics protected under the Fair Housing Act. Now, with Facebook settling this lawsuit, the DOJ has never seen the algorithms that may promote this discrimination under the Fair Housing Act. So it could still be there. But let me tell you what Facebook did that changed the advertising for me permanently and why I will not advertise on their platform. When they got rid of anything, if you're a real estate agent, what they did is they did two things. One, they referred you to partnership Facebook marketing companies. So like Boomtown is one. There's a couple other ones. So you give Boomtown money, you pay them not only for the ad, you pay them to run the ads, and then you can get away with whatever you want to. My understanding. I mean, they're certainly not limited like I am. And then they also made it so, like, if I want to create an ad myself, I have to advertise within 15 miles of my PIN location, which would be my office. No longer can I use zip codes. And so what happened to me is I was stuck advertising property in Southern Illinois. I am not a real estate agent licensed in the state of Illinois. So now I'm spending money advertising in Illinois when I can't even work there. So that got stupid, and it got so stupid, it kind of had to be a pay to play thing for me to pay to go to Boomtown or pay to go somewhere else. I was like, I'm done. So it says this settlement, which still needs to be approved by the court, would require Meta to stop using that tool for housing ads, which the government claims rely on an algorithm that discriminates based on protected characteristics. I believe that they should be forced to show the algorithm does or does not. I think Facebook was very smart to settle. Facebook would be required to create a new system for housing ads by December that the government has to approve. They've already done that. If the government accepts the system, Meta will have to submit to regular third-party reviews to ensure it remains in compliance. The settlement will be dissolved, and the case will return to federal court if the new ad system doesn't sufficiently address the issues. Now, this is what I wrote on my description of the video today. Slap on the wrist. Meta would have to pay the maximum penalty under Fair Housing Act of $115,054 after the settlement. $115,000. They burned through that in less than a second. They make that in less than a second. The idea that this is in any way an issue for Facebook is laughable. It says, as technology rapidly evolves, companies like Meta have a responsibility to ensure their algorithmic tools are not used in a discriminatory manner, said Kristen Clark, DOJ Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, in a statement. We don't know that they were used, and there's never going to be a court case to determine whether or not it was used. So this is just kind of weird. In a blog post following the announcement, Meta characterized the agreement as the result of more than a year of collaboration with their housing and urban development, develop a novel use of machine learning technology that will work to ensure the age, gender, and estimated race or ethnicity of a housing ad's overall audience matches the age, gender, and estimated race or ethnicity mix of the population eligible to see that ad. Let me just read that again, because I don't know that I get it. It says more of a year of collaboration. So you're collaborating with HUD to develop a novel use of machine learning technology that will work to ensure the age, gender, and estimated race or ethnicity of a housing ad's overall audience matches the age, gender, and estimated race or ethnicity mix of the population eligible to see that ad. It should have been that way in the first place. We should not be using algorithms for these race, age, ethnicity. Like when you come to the United States, you're an American. That's it. That you're an American. Every right you have is as an American, not as some sort of race, ethnicity. None of that. That's why America is having a difficult time right now, because we seem to not realize that. The company said it already targets limiting target options for advertisers running housing ads, and that its new system would aim to make additional progress towards a more equitable distribution of ads through our ad delivery process. So I don't advertise there anymore. I don't ad there anymore. They've taken all that out, and it's worthless. I can't even advertise by zip code. It's stupid. They do already limit targeting options for advertisers running housing ads. And I also think, by the way, this is a problem that we have with technology that should be discussed at some point. Why is it that if a doctor quotes a study, they are banned on Twitter? Like a doctor, a medical doctor. Like, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a licensed real estate agent. I know fair housing laws pretty well. We have to learn. I mean, we have to review them pretty much every 2 years for our licensure requirements. I have no desire to run afoul of the fair housing rules. I just don't. I just don't understand. I don't think, honestly, I don't think that the vast majority of real estate agents, upwards of like 95%, would ever want to run afoul of the fair housing laws. It's not worth it. It's too expensive for us. Now, if you hit me with $115,000 fine, I'm screwed. Facebook laughs. But anyway, Meta said it would also expand this approach to include ad targeting for employment and credit, adding it would stop using special ad audience targeting tools for these categories. I mean, when you used to go, and let me go right back here. When you used to go into Facebook, okay, I mean, the things that you, like if someone had looked for a hat in the last year, you could literally choose that as somebody in your audience. I mean, I don't feel like that was wrong. I feel there was a lack of knowledge by the general public about how insidious these algorithms and technology had been, how pervasive they'd become. But, you know, everyone liked Facebook. So what are you going to do? And that's the other thing is, like, if I, as a broker in St. Louis, Missouri, ran afoul of HUD, okay, my name would be plastered all over the local news and I would go out of business. Okay. When Facebook does something like this, Facebook is there, nothing happens. You like the brand and they can pay for you to like the brand. It's just a different, I'm playing in a pool with people that are much bigger than I am. And it's amazing to me that the things that they can get away with that I can't, but it's with the understanding that they are, like I said, a bigger fish in a big pond. So with that, I think I'm going to head out. I enjoyed the stream. I wish I would get a little bit more engagement, but I understand that we're not going to see engagement with the limited, like, I mean, if my video is only being seen by, 30 people, even, I mean, for me to have a chance to get anywhere, it's tough. So thank you for watching. If you're watching this a year from now, congratulations. The world's probably a different place now. And, check me out, see if I'm still a real estate agent. I will still be a real estate agent. I'm here for life. I already know that. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you could subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And I will catch you probably tomorrow. I don't see any reason why not. Bye.